Welcome to episode 86 of the Sockjig Sneaker Podcast. I'm your host, Sockjig. You can follow me at Sockjig on Twitter and on Instagram as well. On today's episode, I talk about the Complex Sneaker of the Year list and some of the pushback and debate that happened online on Twitter. I didn't really dive into the debate on Twitter, but I have some thoughts and I saved them for the podcast. And then later, I'm joined by my friend Haas from My First Kicks, where we talk about attending ComplexCon, and I ask him what it was like and how it was different than previous years. And then after that, we talk about his podcast and about sneaker podcasting in general. And it went a little bit long. I still kind of doing the radio format here just because it's a little fun to do these intros and outros with music and stuff. But during the course of the interview, I did kind of abandon the format just because we were in a conversation. So there's a lot of show to get to, so let's get to it. Sockjig Sneaker Podcast, live on your podcast player. Back after this. Welcome back to the show, Sockjig Live. And before we bring on Haas, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Complex Sneaker of the Year list myself and just my kind of opinions and thoughts on it, because I didn't really chime in online to the discussion, to people arguing about the list. If you didn't see the discussion, people shared their thoughts. They weren't happy with it. And then Complex got a little defensive about it in the replies, kind of defending their lists and how they put it all together. As I said last time, it is what it is. This is how they do it. This is how they've always done it. It's their list to be made, and I think they really enjoy making the list. I personally would have put the Vans souvenir on there, and some of the other stuff would have been ordered different. But it's not my list, and really, the only thing that truly really matters in this presentation of the list is that the number one sneaker is correct, and that one they got right, and that's all that really matters. But in this discussion about all these lists, there's really two types of lists. There's like your personal top 10 list, where you think that this is the top 10 sneakers of the years for me. And then there's a list that if you were to make a top 10 list, that would be the top 10 list that you think covers everyone, not just yourself. And no matter what happens, there's no objective version of this list. Really, the overall goal should be, and I think they've basically kind of said this in some of their replies as well, is to capture the year correctly. Did they capture the year that Nike had? Yes, because they are heavily featured on the list. Vans had a great year. They were not captured. That was valid criticism that you could have put the Vans souvenir on there. Adidas had a big moment with the jellyfish. That is captured on the list. New Balance and Asics not having as strong as years as they've had in the past. Their absence on the list says as much. But usually these lists, it's always sneakers that resell on there. That's usually how it's done, because a sneaker that resells means people want it, and the market price means there's demand for it. There are exceptions, of course. The exceptions are that it has to have something special or notable about it. Like how last year it was the debut signature sneaker for the AE1, for the Anthony Edwards 1. Or something doesn't make the list for notorious reasons. Like the year the Trophy Room Jordan 1s didn't make the list, basically being penalized for how that release happened and how they were all backdoored, allegedly. Not even allegedly, we saw all the photos online. Or like the Tom Sachs sneaker this year, the Mars Yard 3.0. It made a lot of people happy. It had a great release, but it is a retread. It is just a twist of an older one. And of course, the workplace harassment allegations that were lodged against him. Those are all possible reasons why he was dropped off the list. But people were upset for many reasons. No one was really defending Tom Sachs. A few tinkerers in the garage, the nerd types that love Tom Sachs. Some of them were, but not a ton I saw. People were, upset that they got a bunch wrong. They might not have thought that the SGA, the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander sneaker, should be number 10, or the Lil Yachty Air Force One, or the retro Metallic 5 that comes back every 6 years. Why is it always on this list? And that sneaker is fire in hand. I totally understand why that sneaker's on the list, and this really is the only sneaker on the list that I have in hand. And there was a lot of talks about Air Max 95s, that it's overly representative with the neon and the Levi's, and they didn't even get the best one, the Yu-Gi-Oh one on there, and the Vans Chanel bag souvenir sneaker that I mentioned as well too. Some of the other pushback that I saw was that they reward their friends. And like I said, I wasn't going to go in there and defend Complex on Twitter, but I'll sort of do it here now. If on this list you could say their friends are Nigel Sylvester and Lil Yachty that are representative, the Nigel sneaker makes sense. The Lil Yachty one, that could be debated. It of course had a moment. And there were other friends that were not on the list. The Action Bronson is a friend of theirs. Ronnie Feig is a friend of theirs. And those are people with power as well too, and they're not representative. So I don't think they necessarily try to reward friends on there, but I'll let them defend that. The other charge that I saw was that this is all payola, that Nike paid to dominate the list. And obviously the winner is told in advance so that they can have something prepared for the show. The same thing happened with Adidas last year with the AE1. And this year with Nigel Sylvester having like t-shirts already made and a video made and like a t-shirt cannon or whatever he had out there. But I don't really believe that a brand directly paid to be in the top 10. Really, the only one worth buying would be number one. And Nike didn't really need to do that for brick by brick. And it's usually obvious what is the top contender, the top three contenders. And so that's why I don't think anyone is directly writing a check saying, hey, put this on the list at number 5. It doesn't make sense. However, I will say how Complex makes their list, because they don't really share the details in full. They kind of like talk about it in Twitter replies and such, that there could be the scenario where paid advertorial type of campaigns could be considered in how they make the list. For example, this is just a fake scenario, but it could be plausible. Say you're Complex and say you really want, for their magazine that they print out quarterly, that you want Anthony Edwards and SGA on the cover, and you want them to recreate that famous Rolling Stone magazine cover with 50 Cent versus Kanye West, to indicate their kind of rivalry and feud, and also that they're kind of friendly about it. Again, this is all a fake scenario. And Anthony Edwards was on a Complex show, the show that the editor-in-chief gave herself. And say he's on that show and they talked to him behind the scenes and he said he would do it. But when you ask SGA about it, you didn't really hear anything. So if you're then now Complex, could you be thinking, hey, what if we put that SGA sneaker in the top 10, maybe right there at number 10? Now, this is not exactly a backroom type of deal type of thing. It's not really payola, but it is kind of like a, hey, if you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours type, and it'll be a win-win for both of us. Again, this is all a fake scenario I made up. However, it is very plausible, and this is the kind of stuff I do think they must do sometimes, maybe not all the time, but it is plausible, at least to me. It's more believable that they do this kind of stuff than Nike writing a check to JLP and Welty. And I alluded to like who makes the list. It isn't really discussed directly who makes the list. Their names and faces, those people are not on the panel. It's the people who are famous are on the panel at the show. And the panel, they debate the list, but they don't make the list. And they've said that there's like 5-6 employees that create the list. If you go to Complex and the writers they have, those are probably the 5-6 people. That's Welty, Joel Apuma, new head of sneakers, Ben Felderstein, Zach Visual Basic. Those are the people compiling this list. Those are the people that Complex has deemed worthy of making a list for them, but not worthy of being on video or on an audio platform for them, only written words. So most of the time, the writers, the writers that you don't know, not including Welty or Joel Apuma, they just write articles based on facts and interviewing someone. They don't really share opinions. But when you're making this list, you're kind of making an opinionated list, even if you were trying to do an objective list. And that's fine. Bias is always going to be there. Another criticism that there's an East Coast bias to the list, that Lil Yachty sneaker is popular in New York, and these might be people who live in Long Island or something, and Lil Yachty sneaker is popular in Long Island and New York, and the Vans souvenir sneaker is not. But some of them were on Twitter defending the list and actually responding to people. And Wealthy will do this sometimes, but the rest do not. Joe LaPuma is never in the Twitter replies talking to people or in the YouTube comments or whatever. And they were saying things like, we want to see your list. And this, I don't believe for a second. They've never wanted to see anyone's list. They've never engaged with the community at this kind of stuff because they like making the list. So now when they get some pushback on it, well, it's like, yeah, it's hard. Let me see your list, as a way to kind of, deflect the blame or pushback that they're getting. Ben Felderstein, the new head of sneakers there, who replaced Brendan Dunn, had an Instagram post and then even some tweets replying to Jacques Cousteau saying, and he said, quote, "Creating a top 10 list is a much harder thing to do than creating a bunch of categories to make everyone happy," end quote. And this was essentially taking a shot at the Nice Kicks Awards. But I saw this and I was like, this is hilarious. Look, man, we're doing the hard work here. Forget working in a coal mine or trying to cure cancer or anything. This shit right here is the real hard work. We had to drive in from Long Island. Do you know how hard that is? We had to drive in the traffic from Long Island. Me and my, nameless coworkers who are not allowed in the YouTube studios. That's only for the talent and for the editor-in-chief. We were locked in a small office, slaving away, putting this list together. You know how hard that is? Bear in mind, we are in the smaller office. If we had a larger office, maybe it wouldn't have been so stressful. But this is the job that we signed up for. Making a top 10 is hard work, and we are doing the hard work. We're not doing this to make people happy. It just sounds ridiculous when you say it's harder than the awards, when it's really just whatever, some fun bullshit list that is designed to get engagement for their big show. And that's it. The simple fact is the sneaker of the year is literally a popularity contest. Then just hold a popularity contest. But what they're really defending is that they like being the ones putting it together. Is the whole thing self-serving? Of course it is. All this is taking place at ComplexCon. The entire name of the event is self-serving. So those 5-6 guys in that small office with the Long Island commute, they don't get to be on YouTube, but they got this. And so they're kind of defensive about what they get to do. But all this, I don't think they need to be super defensive about it. They should just totally embrace it. If it was me, I would have been like, yeah, it was a tough call. Glad you enjoyed ComplexCon. See you next year. People get mad at me all the time when I do the sneaker bracket that you forgot this and that. And I always joke, it didn't make the top 64th. That sneaker, it was 65th. And thank you. I'm glad we got to spend some time in this community discussion here. Have a good day, man. I'm not in the Twitter replies like, hey, man, you know how hard it is putting a bracket together? I mean, people are out there curing cancer, and then there's me, a sneaker bracketologist. That's just like a slight level below them, sometimes even above them. That's how hard this is. My hands look like this, so your hands can vote in these sneaker Twitter polls. You see how stupid that sounds? So that's why I treat it all as entertainment. And I'm not trying to you-should the complex. I don't think they like being you-shoulded. But if I were them, I would treat it as entertainment. That's what I'll say. This is the premier event for ComplexCon. It's a big show. So that when people leave there, they feel like they experienced a sneaker moment. That the people did, that the brands did. It's 2025. We always have to think about what the brands think. And to me, the only one who kind of understands this is Joe LaPuma, and he's kind of saying this, not in so many words, but he said something like, this is the biggest hour in sneakers, when he was quote tweeting Nigel on TMZ, talking about it being a big honor. But I think he understands that this is all a big entertainment thing, that we did this for the engagement and people were engaged, and he's kind of saying, you're welcome. We're trying to create moments, the sneaker moment of the year. An award show doesn't create moments. That's procedural and boring. It's a bunch of small moments. And this is the big impact show. So when we have a panel with our closest friends debating this on the stage, that's that whole ESPN mantra, embrace debate. That's entertainment. And, You know who else tries to do entertainment and create big moments? Yeah, pro wrestling, WWE. They literally promote themselves saying that we create big moments unlike anyone else. And WWE, that's all a work, brother. It's scripted and has a predetermined winner to create a big moment at the end of the big show. And that's exactly what this was, sneaker entertainment. It was scripted by 5 or 6 guys from Long Island with a predetermined winner to create a big moment at the end of the big show. So don't be defensive about it. Go ahead and embrace it. Sockjig Live will be back with Haas from My First Kicks right after this. Back on the show, Sockjig Live, and joining me now is a very special guest, the host of My First Kicks, none other than Haas. Haas, how's it going?
Yo, it's a huge honor to be on SockJig Live.
Yeah, thank you.
First time, long time? I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah, first time, long time. Thank you for being on the show. I want to talk about ComplexCon. We'll talk about like just what was like attending, and then on the second half we'll talk about like your podcast and promoting your podcast, talking to people there, trying to get guests and all that kind of stuff while you're out there networking and while you're outside.
Yeah. ComplexCon, like I definitely think it's a huge undertaking, but it is worth the investment in terms of just like being in front of these brands or like these people. But this is my fourth year in a row going. First year was post COVID, and that was life changing, I will say, because people were just getting outside and it was weird talking to people because you have to talk to them from
Right,
masked up, so you can't really like see if they're like the emotions or something like that. So um it was, I would say, scary, and then at the same time it was just wild because they had like some interesting activations, but it wasn't like the next following year, which was at Long Beach. And it was, I mean, still at Long Beach, but that's when I got a media pass, and
right.
that was very different.
So were they, did you get a hookup or were you like, hey, I'm My First Kicks, give me a media pass? And, you're out
Look,
there with StockX, or like, was that through brand stuff or was that just you and your hard work? And because everything we're usually seeing is a lot of it is you and your hard work. I'm going to put it to 99% of that, or is it like 90% of that? And the other part is, friends helping you out and all that kind of stuff.
I wish it was any of that, to be honest. You wanna know the real story of how I got a media pass was there was a link posted on LinkedIn,
Oh,
and it
nice.
was like, if you want to sign up for a media pass, use this link. And I signed up for a media pass. I did it out of like, no way they're gonna give me a media pass. And then they gave me a media pass. And I was like, what am I gonna do with this? So I had to ask somebody to come. I was like, yo, can you please film me? This is my first time doing something like this. Can you please help me out? That person, shout out Foggy. I have a ton of this content that is just sitting on a hard drive because I never put it out. I put out one compiled video of like, oh, what's your first kick? Because I decided to ask everybody
Right.
my question of my podcast, which I, in hindsight, was such a bad idea.
Well,
It's such
you're gonna throw the whole gimmick out now. You're gonna
oh,
ask.
the whole the whole the whole thing just out the window. And like corralling, like I had one video go viral with Gata. He's known for being Little Dicky's hype man, and he like posted like, yo, you listen to My First Kicks. And then we had the video, and he was telling me about how his first kicks were Starberries and how he got girls with Starberries. It was crazy. The whole thing was crazy. I again flew myself out. I put myself in. I have a friend that lives out in LA, so he let me stay in his house, and we all just like we kind of just made it like a thing. Like we had like a party, we had people come over, and then like that it was all his family and like people like that. And then I'd go to to ComplexCon, and then I spent every single hour that it was open talking to everybody. I was so like gassed out by the end of that like I was like, I'm never doing this again. Like in terms of just like creating content
Yeah,
like
yeah.
out there. But as like quote unquote content creator, like that was my mindset, because this is when I was doing TikToks, I was doing all that stuff trying to get promotion for the podcast going. And I think I would say, like, doing that, like, putting myself through that, I realized that is not my forte, and that's where I mean, now you see what the content is now, but it took
Right.
for me to do that, and, like, I thought this was the way I was supposed to do things, but like, that crash course of, like, interviewing all these celebrities because I had a media pass, because they would see the media pass and then stop for me. So
Right.
you do have that, like, all right, like the unspoken, like,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, we got to stop for him type of thing. But for me to just, like, not do anything with it was like, yeah, that's a fail on my end.
This could be a TikTok influencer with 1 million followers. I got to stop here, right?
Got to
Because like
stop
that,
here
those people are out there for this kind of stuff.
for sure. Like, especially this year when I saw it was less people with the full rig of, like, a camera with the Rode mic on it and stuff like that stopping people. It was a lot of, like, Complex's people doing it, or, like, StockX people doing it.
Yeah.
But I definitely, like, I do think it is a good opportunity if you are into that man on the street type of thing, but I am not. Like, you'll never see me go up to somebody in Times Square and be like, "Hey, are those reps?" And then, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So,
in those first couple of years, like Nike and like it wasn't as big activations. It was a lot of smaller brands from what I recall. And then
yeah.
Nike decided, all right, I guess especially after the Travis World thing, they're like, okay, maybe we'll put our investment here. And then the last couple of years have been much bigger.
Yeah. Year 3, Cactus Con, Travis, they really, really curated that, and the idea of making it like a world I guess it came to be, and moving it to Vegas and making it this, like, hub of just streetwear and sneakers. You also have to count to the fact that year 1 and 2, 1, I'm talking about the years that I went. The 2021, that was Complex still a public company by itself, right? Or individualized company, whatever
Well,
that term
owned by
is.
BuzzFeed or whatever it
No, no,
was.
no. They BuzzFeed owned them in Complex Con year 2 that I went to.
Okay.
Yeah, so, like, it was Complex was by itself, and then BuzzFeed owned it in 2022. Then the network sale happened,
Right.
or network bought 'em in 2023. Right? I'm counting this right? 2023, 2024?
It
Maybe
doesn't
I'm
matter.
off one. Yeah, I'm off one. My first one was 2022, and then it was 2023 is when I got the
I'm gonna
media.
cut all that, so it doesn't
Cut it,
really
cut
matter.
it. Yeah, yeah. My bad. All right. And then yeah, I guess the influx of becoming us, like, selling stuff was like they really put an emphasis on it on 2023, because everything was just like it was from small to big. Activations were around, and like Cactus Con had its own little individual thing on the side, and you walk through it, and it was like smaller brands and stuff like that. And so yeah, they were just I think it got really, really huge in 2024 because of Travis's involvement, and then, like, that lineup, and it crossed across a lot of audiences, because you'd see older people and younger people on both days.
Great. So I have some questions about attending. This is for people who have not been like me. I was thinking about going this year, and then I have a couple trips coming up. So that was the reason why I didn't go this year.
Mhm.
I'll try to go next year. I also wasn't excited about Daniel Arsham hosting, but I don't think that really mattered. That was like seemed like it was a bunch of sculptures or whatever, and that was about it.
Yeah.
Compared to a Travis hosting where he was like singing and stuff. First question: does it smell crazy in there?
Sunday smelled crazy. Sunday was crazy. Sunday was it. I thought I was at Cannabis Con, not a
Right.
yeah. But Saturday, I don't think so. But I will say, after, like, 4 o'clock, maybe 4 5 o'clock, like, when it started to get to the music time, that's when people were like, "All right, it's time to roll up and let's go."
Right.
So yeah. But you're talking to somebody that goes to a lot of concerts, so to me, it was just like whatever.
Second question then, is it hot in there? Because this is Vegas. Even at this time in Vegas, it still could be like, hold on, I'll convert Celsius to Fahrenheit, like 80 outside. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, that was right. 80 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is Celsius. But the so I suffer from hypothermia, so I'm the wrong person to ask that. I was freezing the entire time. I will
Oh,
say that.
I'm the opposite. I'm a furnace.
Yeah. I had one moment of respite when I went outside and it was actually like it was the 80 degrees, but inside the floor, I was cool. Like I was like, this is my type of, and then or like it would just be if there was not a lot of people there, it'd be freezing. So yeah.
Is the floor jam packed or is it easy to walk around?
It's easy to rock around this year. Last year, jam packed.
It was the same convention center, right?
Yeah, Las
Yeah.
Vegas Convention Center. It's huge. I mean, I know you said that Daniel Arsham had nothing but sculptures, but he did have like my biggest critique about it is that they section off too much. Like it's not all combined. And I don't
Right.
know if that's the layout this year specifically, but the layout last year was a lot more you walk through everything and you still miss stuff. But Daniel Arsham this year decided to put like a speakeasy in the back. He like had this whole thing and he had cars all around the place. So it's like it was very spread out. So like that's why it's less jam packed.
What's interesting is of all the people I follow and watching IG reels and whatever people post on Twitter, I didn't see anything anyone posted about Daniel Arsham. They're probably just like, whatever. I saw like the big ComplexCon sign that people would take the
Yeah.
photo. That was literally all I saw Arsham wise. I wasn't even sure if he was there.
He was there. I got to wave at him. I didn't want to make the line to meet him because he was at on Sunday he was selling a book for his Karsham thing that he does.
Yeah.
And he was selling a book companion to go with it and he was there to sign the book and I was just like I'm not buying the book, so I'm not gonna go on the line.
I'm not buying the book, Daniel, but what's your first kicks, Daniel?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, let me get the media pass and run that back.
And so like someone like J Tips had a big booth there like with this big massive sculpture of his head or whatever. I was looking at that and I was like, there's that was like a fat guy dream, having a big sculpture of your face. The
Yeah.
second fat guy dream is like scoring a touchdown, right? And so
As an offensive lineman?
yeah, it's an offensive lineman. You pick up a fumble, you score a touchdown. And then the second one would be having like a big bust of your face that everyone like comes to see or something. Um, as a fellow large man, that can say I can share that dream of wanting to score a touchdown and having a large bust of my face on the Las Vegas convention floor. But when you go to these places where it's Joe Fresh Goods, it's J Tips, is there a long line? Do you have to wait to see them? Are they there, like shaking hands, kissing babies? What's that like?
The so I get do you want my experience or do you want me to tell you
Well, I want
what
to see what you saw, and then I want to see what your
Okay.
experience was.
Okay. I'll give you the what I saw. The experience uh for people lining up it's very seamless and J Tips stays around. So like you do get to experience the product and him and Savior Island or whatever he called it. I think that's what he called it. But like you get to walk around. It's not like a rush where it's like a million people trying to get in line, but everybody was really amped up to get his shoes. So his booth was the soon as you walked in and you walk right in, you can't miss it. And people were just making that line to get and I mean, he had a lot of stock of his shoes, so everybody was able to get a pair.
Right,
And so I don't think the line was long because of that, because they knew they could just wait for the line to die down a little bit, make the line and come back, and you still get your box signed, you get or whatever you want from the G-Shocks. I think the only thing that sold out was the G-Shocks, and that was like on Sunday.
right.
As for Joe Fresh Goods, he didn't sell anything, so you would just walk into the
Just come
Pata
hang out.
booth. Yeah, and just talk to him. He was playing Uno on the side. You can get a haircut. I got to speak a little bit to one of the creators for Pata. I forgot his name. I'm so sorry, but I got to speak. Like everybody was just chilling in there. So that was more like it felt more of just like a meet and greet and not like a hey, I'm here to sell you something. But the J-Tips experience for me, I
You
just
had the
went into
VIP treatment.
yeah, yeah. He was like, there's a video of me of him being like, he's good, and then that was me, and I just brought like 3 people with me, and then we just walked him through the
Hurry,
back.
hurry, let's
Yeah,
go, let's
yeah,
go.
yeah. Let's go.
Cross the velvet
Uh,
rope.
Yeah, I mean, I've known J-Tips for a really long time now, so, like, every time he sees me, that's like that's brother right there, so yeah.
Right. Um, you know how they sell passes. Did you get a VIP pass or did you buy the regular pass? Is the VIP pass worth it? Is what I was always wondering when I look at the tickets for it.
Yeah, I would say the VIP pass is 100% worth it if you're paying for it. I mean, full disclosure, I go through my job. I work in advertising, so there are perks to that. You know, since I work in advertising, I run ads on Complex directly, and so I have a relationship, and I just asked for a ticket, and they gave me a partner ticket, a partner VIP ticket, which is the VIP plus, I guess. You get your own little exit entrance that you have to go through, and then the same thing with like guest passes, stuff like that. But I will say the VIP tickets are worth it if you're paying, because that is where you get your own entrance, you get to skip the lines, and you get to be first in where like the first entry. So like there's three different levels of entry, I guess. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. You're in the 10 o'clock. And then yeah, you're good to go. 9 o'clock is for exhibitors, so unless you get that pass, you're not getting in there.
When you're there, do you have like this urge to like buy things, buy all these drops, and then later you look at them like, why did I buy all this shit for? Because like just from the outside looking in, looking on IG and Twitter, even like the sneakers when they had their thing there with the wall, they were showing all the sneakers on there, and it was all just like some GR stuff that had dropped recently. But there
Mhm.
was like a big frenzy of there people like, I gotta buy something. I'm here.
For me, I will say the thing that's good about it being in Vegas is that you're like, I'm limited on space. So it
Right.
does make you think of like how much can I bring back? So last year I made the biggest mistake of only flying with a carry-on and not checking a bag.
Were you
And
breaking up the boxes and stuff?
yeah. And so this year I brought an empty duffel, and I was like, well, it wasn't empty. I had my Dornbecker 8s in it because I was too scared to check my Dornbecker 8s in my suitcase. But I made it a little bit I brought space, but I don't think well, so I'm a veteran to conventions. And so if you are not used to going to conventions and buying massive like tons of stuff, I still have stuff from like 2017 Comic-Con that I've never opened. So
Yeah,
you do get
some
to
vinyl thing of
yeah.
whatever, some little toy.
Yeah. And so that happens if you just have that impulse, but I do think it does come with, like, just knowing yourself. Like, if you know yourself, like, "Okay, this is how much money," or having a budget, and especially, Vegas is so freaking expensive. You have to worry about food, you have to worry about, all this extra stuff, cabs if wherever you're staying, gambling if you're gambling, and then, you know, I feel like buying is the last thing on your mind, but I will say the exclusive drops do seem very, very enticing. Like the Harajuku 95s when they drop, I try to get them and it will no, they were gone
You just
because
have
of
to be in
people
that area when it drops or whatever, because 'cause you're not gonna
no,
it's not like you can, like, run there or whatever.
yeah, you can. You can
Okay.
run there. Yeah. So, like, the drops were, like, legit, like, all the undefeated, 95s, the black pair, and the white pair were all, like, you just gotta wait in line until they, like, "Okay, you can buy them." Like, the drop is at 11, people just lined up. Same with the Harajuku 95s. The people soon as they came in, they just run straight to the line and try to cop, so
Yeah.
there is that part to it too.
Was there also like, I saw some Instagram stories where there were, like, strippers and stuff there. Were
Mm.
there, like, legit, like, strippers and lap dance? I don't think there was lap dances or anything.
I don't think there was lap dances either.
Was there a champagne room at ComplexCon?
I wish. No, but there was 2 booths. Sexy Red had a booth that I passed by, and then, yeah, she had strippers there, but they're already stripped down. They weren't stripping, so
Okay.
they were just dancers, I guess. And then Silver Regime also had strippers dancers, sorry, dancers in their booth as well, that they were dressed up like goth style. Um, I know there were some complaints or like people were talking about it, like, how can you have that where kids are around? Um, I don't know.
It's Vegas.
Yeah.
That, what happens in Vegas, I guess.
I didn't see anybody under 16. So, like,
Right.
16 or 17. So, at that point, it's kinda like the way that if you look at the lineup of just the artists themselves, I feel like it's understandable, right?
Yeah.
You know? I feel like nobody under 17 or 18 would be like, "Oh my god, you got strippers here," you know?
Yeah. Okay, so I have a controversial question for you. Well, not really controversial. Does Complex Con count as going outside?
Yes.
Because what I mean by that is because it is like a corporate sponsored event, right?
Mhm.
It is like a consumer fest.
Yeah.
And we, especially on Twitter, we're on Twitter. We see the term "you got to be outside, go outside," and I always think of outside as like you're just out with your friends, community, that kind of stuff. And I don't always think of it as like a corporate branded thing. So that's
Yeah.
why I want. What are your thoughts on that? Does corporate complex sponsored event count as outside?
Yes. So, last year, I made the call out. I don't know if you remember this,
Yeah,
where
yeah, you were there
yeah,
saying, "Come on out to
yeah.
Complex the Con."
I was saying I was the me and Sneaky Leak were the only podcast at ComplexCon, and so I believe that ComplexCon is an outside event because and I say it and I said this on another podcast before where it was just like just pick a tent pole, like pick a tent pole event to go to that you know a ton of other people that we already interact with online are going to be there. And I feel like ComplexCon has garnered that because that's where all the big brand activations happen. That's where a lot of these people come together. Like I'm talking about industry people, whatever the who's, right? Because my friend Robbie Digital says the Complex Con is like a family reunion, and so in order for you to be invited to the cookout, you got to at least show up to something. And if you're
At
gonna show, if you're
least
gonna
be
show
family, yeah.
yeah, you know? And in order to be family, you got some people have to know you outside of, the
Yeah, yeah.
internet. So, I do consider it
I don't think complex people have always considered me family,
no, no
but anyone else in the community, sure.
Hey, look, everybody's trying to turn a new leaf here, all
Yeah,
right?
yeah, totally
Yeah,
turning a new leaf here.
yeah. So, I think considering it outside, being outside, and yes, because you are more likely to create a bond or tighten a bond that was previously only online at that because because it's a destination. It's and everybody loves a destination.
Yeah. I assume people are out there. Like you'll see what someone's real personality is like, right? Like I really do try to present myself how as I am, like the jokes
Yeah.
I make and how, like what I find entertaining and fun. Try to present that. But in terms of online, I only do it in the terms of sneakers. Like I don't
Yeah.
do it. I don't talk about. I really don't talk about sports. I just started talking about Blue Jays a little bit because it was such a good World Series. But
Mhm.
I love sports and I love like my personal life, my family. I don't even talk about any of that stuff, right? So I only ever share a little slice of it. So is there the case where you're out there, you see people, and then they are total the opposite of that? They're introverted or anything like that, or is it like, hey, it just brings the best in people out?
Damn, that's the tough question. Not the other one. This was the tough question. I'll be honest. I'm pretty confident in myself and my ability to create a conversation with any type of person, but not everybody has that, right? And like sometimes that is the first time they're interacting with somebody else in the community because they live in, Saskatchewan, Nebraska, right? And so they're inside all day or whatever, and the only people that they see is the same town people that they see. They've saved up all their money to finally go to ComplexCon. They go and they don't know how to interact with people. But I'm a heavy believer of just like I give everybody a chance. And some people don't. And that's more of just maturity or like whatever you're like I've been doing this for a really long time in terms of just like networking and getting to know people and like I have this if you ever watch my podcast, I have to the listeners, to the Sock Jig Live listeners, you know, I have this ability to break people down so that the walls aren't so high up so that I'm like trying to force a conversation. And so, but that takes years of
Yeah,
getting to
yeah,
know like yourself. And so when I meet somebody, that's I'm instantly like every the common thing everybody always says is, "Oh my god, I love your energy." And I'm like, "Yeah," because it's super inviting. And if you're coming up there apprehensive and you're
yeah.
like, "Nobody's gonna like me," then nobody's gonna like you. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And you might run into someone whose social battery has like dipped down, right? And you
Yeah.
just if you met them 3 hours earlier, they were energetic or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so hold that thought. I'll be right back after this. We'll go to a break. Sockchick Live. Back after this. We're back on Sockchick Live. Haas is here. We forgot to talk about the Sneaker of the Year panel. What was the Sneaker of the Year panel like? Did you have to get there like an hour early to get a good seat and scope it out? Did you have to elbow like an old lady out of the way?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had to push out some people. I will say, last year's Sneaker of the Year panel was way more full than this year's Sneaker of the Year panel. I'm so upset at my crew for making me wait on that line for 45 minutes because we didn't need to. Like we could have just rolled in there and like I would have maybe been happy with like a third row back seat. Like,
The
you
problem
know,
is it's like it's on it's Sunday night, right? And so it's like really 24 to 36 hours is the ideal Vegas experience. And so
mhm,
if you're going to book it, you come in Friday night and you leave like Sunday afternoon. That
mhm.
could be the case, is what I was thinking. Because otherwise, you got to stay the night and leave Monday morning, right?
Yeah, yeah, I left Monday, but like the I think last year was like 3 o'clock on a Saturday, and I think that was like optimal, and it
Yeah.
wasn't like it was like the precursor before the concerts, so like all the kids were just lining up in the hallway on that Saturday, so like you would just have all the I guess the demographic for Sneaker of the Year
Yeah.
head up there, so that's when you really had to camp out for it. But like yeah, this year was not the same. I don't think the panelists garnered enough like, for people to be like, "Look, we gotta line up for, you know, 2 hours before we get in there."
Right. Right.
It's not a Hall H experience, you know? So,
So what was it like? I did not see any video from it because it wasn't like live streamed or anything like that. And even that I was out to a concert that night, and so I saw only photos of people saying here's like the number, and you know the complex Twitter was posting the numbers as well too. But
yeah.
what was like the live reaction of it, especially with like some of the more controversial ones?
For the controversial ones, I think when they started off with the Infinity Archives, it was kinda like, it was just like, "Is this right?" Like, you know? And then
That one
if
is at least okay. It was like the SGA one was a little more questionable in my opinion.
I mean, I feel like the SGA made sense because to me, I feel like the sneaker of the year shoe, like it has to be like newer models need to be represented because I do
Sneaker
think
of the week. There should only be new silhouettes on the
this,
on the list.
I've been preaching this for years, man. I'm so sick of retros just dominating sneaker of the year list,
Honestly,
but
my favorite sneakers in the last little while have been new silhouettes, like the Baklava, which is a 990 V6, and then
mhm,
even last year was the 1906 the Action Bronson one as well was like a really good
yeah,
sneaker. And Thunder Max is not a like the Kids of Immigrants, so it's like a top sneaker, or like, AE1 is a new sneaker, but it
right,
does get some representation. But yeah, no, I hear what people say, but it's like this is a popularity contest. So no matter what you do, Metallic Black 5 that was done exceptionally well is going to be popular because
yeah.
people have a lot of good memories and feelings and everything nostalgia with that sneaker, right?
So when the metallic like, I just like, when they announced the metallic black fives, people were like, and then Joe was like he made his case, and then people were like, "No, you got a point." And I was just like
Yeah.
even I was like, "Okay, yeah, you
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
point." Like, I remember I turned to AD and I was like, "This makes sense because of how I don't even remember when the last time kids were like, "Let me line up for a sneaker." Like,
Yeah.
and this was that shoe, and that happened, then we got the Awake 5s after that, and people were talking about the link and all that stuff, and they were like, "Yeah," and
Oh, the scammer thing.
yeah, the
Yeah, yeah.
scammer thing, and I was like, I guess, um, for me, man, that Neon 95 and, like, how it was between the Neon 95 and the Levi's, because obviously people are and they're still talking about it, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Should have been over the Levi's, but obviously that's attached to whoever grew up watching it, that
Yeah, I mean,
reference.
I've no idea anything of Yu-Gi-Oh, and I thought that sneaker was fire,
Yeah, really?
right?
That's
And so,
fire.
like, but I haven't seen it in hand. I haven't seen the Levi's in hand. Honestly, the only one on the list that I got was the Metallic 5, and I thought that
Mhm.
was like one of the best retros I've ever seen from Jordan Brand. Like,
Yeah.
like they did a Black Cement 3 really well, and this one I thought was like top tier in terms of a retro. But yeah, I don't know why they felt the need to represent the Air Max 95 twice on there, but
Yeah.
these are, it's like I was saying in the open to the show that it's like 5 or 6 people that decide the list, and
Mm.
they're the ones who are like, it's got to be on there twice, right?
Yeah, I don't I mean, we the way that people really pick apart this list on Twitter is probably I was saying this to Bima earlier. I was like, "This needs to be studied," because, like, people are so passionate about 5 people sitting in a room debating about sneakers when they can just put out their own list, and I'm like, I totally understand that, like, some people want to treat this as, like, the end of the year list, and, this is
Yeah,
what the markets are looking at, I guess. I don't know if we were
yeah,
talking
yeah,
stocks and stuff, like, but I do think that when it comes to retros and being like, this list was filled with retros. It
right.
was top to bottom,
Well,
basically, man.
it seemed to me they want to reward Nike for having a good year,
Yeah,
right? And so you do that by then representing the year of the Air Max 95. So it's on there. And so that also shows like the number one, the brick by brick being there. And then the whole, we're bringing back all the retros, everyone's favorite. That was undefeated on there too. And
yeah.
so, yeah, no, it was just like, I thought I didn't really dive into this debate online. There are people going insane, as you were saying about
Insane,
it. Um,
insane.
what my lesson I said in the last episode of the show was like, learn the lesson from me. You don't need to, you should complex because they've never listened to that. They won't listen to that. People have been you shoulding them so much that they've gotten a little defensive about it, about the list,
Yeah.
and started like replying to people. Is another thing that they don't really net usually do, talking about the ins and out of it. But to me, it's an entertainment show. The list is not even canon. The written list is canon, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll switch something up. I'm sure that Vans sneaker will get in there somehow. And then all that really mattered was that they got the number one sneaker right. And
fair.
in my opinion, they got that right. And it was
Thank
kind
you.
of a no brainer. I could see them flipping between undefeated and like the case can be made that undefeated four should be the sneaker of the year. And I will listen to the arguments and I might be even like, swayed by 60, 70% of it. But in my opinion, I think that the number one was right. What are your thoughts on the brick by brick?
I agree. I mean, I'm biased. I'm from Queens, and I love
Right.
Nigel, so like it's a little too on the nose for me.
Yeah.
My only critique about that shoe is that packaging is so annoying. But yeah, that like
Oh,
if
it's
you
kind of has a big blue elastic band on it as well, too, right?
I mean, that's not the annoying part. It's that they separated the shoe into 2 separate bags, and you every time you have to open it, you have to open 2 separate bags, and
Right.
then you gotta unwrap it in the paper. I ripped the paper by accident, and then you do the reverse, and it's like I mean, it's a cumbersome, like, 2-minute thing, but, like, at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like,
Half the
yeah.
audience is like, ah, poor Haas. He's
Yeah,
got like the sneaker
he's
of the
got the brick,
year and it's so hard to open. I couldn't even get it. Fuck this guy. So,
Oh, man. No
yeah.
whammies, no whammies, please.
Okay, enough about the list. I wanted to talk about your show. You've been doing really well this year. I remember we always talk on DMs about podcasts. I
Yeah.
love podcasts. I love sneaker podcasts. I listen to pretty much all of them. If I haven't made it an enemy, I might not listen to that one. um, but so you and I have talked about behind the scenes, the recording aspects on some of this stuff, and I've given you feedback on episodes and stuff too. I remember saying to you like I don't want to give feedback to anyone else because usually like people get mad about feedback.
Uh,
Um, I'm sure you've experienced that as well too.
yeah, yeah.
But what's it been like getting the show out there, pounding the pavement, as you were saying, from the early years to this year, getting it out there, talking to people about the show, because they see you out there, you're being undeniable as you tweeted and pinned on Twitter.
If you want the So it's funny. I'll tell you this story. I had dinner the night like the Sunday night, and I was like reflecting. And I mean, I posted recently. I do a lot of reflecting. I do a lot of reflecting in general. But I mean,
People,
you've been, you know,
you very rarely do you ever get sincere me on Twitter. People
yeah,
write these long, like sincere tweets all the time. I post some jokes and I leave.
yeah.
Maybe on the podcast I will get sincere, but
Mhm.
yes, no. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah,
Ah,
I've seen you get sincere, and I do
yeah.
appreciate seeing what you do.
But it's funny. I had this conversation. I had previous guests of the podcast, Kenneth and Nod, Sneaker Law, like I was talking to him. I was like, "Yo, I remember the first time I walked up to you in 2023 and I asked you to be on my podcast and you looked at me, you were like, 'I'll let you know.'" And it went from "I'll let you know" to the next year being like, "Oh, I get asked to do a lot of podcasts, so, just let me check out your stuff and I'll see." And then this year I had him on and it was like this whole thing of like seeing the progression from that alone because sometimes it does take a lot of repetitions of being getting in somebody's face to be like, yo, this is for real and I'm doing this consistently. Please, like, I would love to hear your story. And that was a real testament of what this year was. Like, I mean, the start of the year off with having the Kid Merrill on, that really like catapulted me. Having Brendan Dunn on, Welty the year before, like started into that. Like a lot of this has come from just really like the first year of ComplexCon where I was pushing like stickers in people's faces, being like, "Yo, please listen to my podcast." Nobody gave me a chance. Like people were taking the stickers and being like, "What is this?" And I'll be like, "It's a podcast. Check it out." And then like I'll just give it to them, and they'll be like, "All right, I'll check it out." No growth off of that, but like. I remember that was the first year I really ran into like Brendan and Welty and like Joe. Not I didn't run into Joe that year, but I ran into them too. Spoke to them about the podcast. Then the following year, the media pass, I got them on some videos talking to me. Remember that one? You're like, Matt Welty no sold me. And um, but and then after that, it kind of like snowballed because I was getting people starting to recognize me by last year. And once that happened, I was like, "Okay, I'm making waves. I'm making this is going somewhere." And because I was getting like an inkling of like I'm doing something, I decided this year to get like really head down with it and like get fully in the studio, like really push the like 5 clips a week on an episode, like really push this stuff and really get the next guest and talk to people, go to these events even more, and just really get the podcast out there because I do feel like it's something that's missing. I feel like people will look at it in the future and be like, "Damn, I wish I was on it." And so, like,
So,
you know, yeah.
is the
Go
goal
ahead.
to do this show on like a Complex or some other network, or is it just to be yourself, be out there, and like like you said, the goal is to have people want to be on your show?
So this, if you asked me this question 2 years ago, I probably would have been like, I want to be on Complex. But now, nah, man, I'm trying to do this for me and me only. Like I'm trying to I got a Patreon now, and I'm trying to fund this myself to the point where I can be like a I don't know if you ever listen to Grits and Eggs. Like I'm trying to be like a Deontay Kyle who's like self-sustaining, like has 30,000 patrons, like, he's trying or more than that, and like he's doing live shows and stuff like that. I'm trying to be that version because there isn't there isn't a network that's gonna give me the freedom I give myself at the end of the day.
Right.
And so if I'm betting on myself, then other people that are tuning in are betting on me too.
Um, Question I was thinking about is like you built this network. It also almost becomes like a snowball. Like once you have a certain number of guests, high profile guests, then more want to do it,
Yeah.
and then you like you've probably done. You talk to someone gives you the number of three more people. So you built the network side of it. How do you go about doing the opposite side of like building the audience? What are your thoughts on that? That's the part that is like the real puzzle that's hard to crack. For me, obviously, the puzzle that you cracked is also really, really tough, and I'm not trying to like downplay that because
Uh-huh.
there's no way I could be talking to like all these people that you do like once a week, and so what is your plan or thoughts on getting out of the side, getting people to tune in?
I mean, I've been trying everything with that part. I mean, we talk about this a lot too. Like, I mean, me and you in the
Yeah,
DMs, we talk about this a lot. Like cracking that code, I think it just really kind of is what my friend D, who helps me on the podcast. He says it's all about building my celebrity. And what does that look like, right? Like if I figure that out, then I think the audience will follow. Um, but I think that's the hardest part, like, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, like, I don't wanna con I don't I'm not a content creator. I'm not gonna go on TikTok and be like, "Alright, like, this is my shoe.
well,
Here
that's what
you
I'm getting
go."
at. Like, do you want to be a host or do you want to be like a creator with opinions? Like, because like for example, Joe LaPuma, he's a host of the sneaker shopping and the podcast and stuff. Not really known for a ton of opinions. I will go on a on a ledge and say he likes about black sneakers.
Love Black
He worked at Foot Locker. Like, I'm not trying to pick on Joe LaPuma or anything, but yeah, what I'm trying to say is like in the context of interviewing someone, you can't always interject with your opinion. And I know I listen to every episode. I know you do. I know you have interweaved your personal stories as
Yeah.
well too. And so it's like it's almost like, do you have to pick one, or can you like slip between the two if you want?
I think I think we could you could it's whatever we want it to be, right? Like, I think that if I
We're
don't
doing
think
a radio show here because I feel like doing a radio show.
I know, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The this is I mean, the term is the world is your oyster, right? I think
Yeah,
it's as long as you like for me, I love basically I what I've said this when I first started the podcast, I was like, let's put your story on wax, right? And if I and I think I feel like I even said this to you when I asked you to be jump on my podcast years ago, but it was just like the what we don't have is a collection of how did we get here? Like when it comes to sneakers specifically, right? And I think we lose the recipes along the way because a lot of people are just so focused on the next shoe, the next collab, the next whatever. And I'm just like, you can get that opinion by just scrolling on Twitter, but I want to know how'd you form that opinion, right? I want to know your life stories to get you to be like, yeah, that shoe is whack.
yeah,
But I feel like as a like yes, I would say I consider myself a host because if I'm hosting the podcast, I'm creating that platform that people can come on. It's not negative, it's super positive. It's all about giving people's flowers as they're able to smell them. And I feel like that's like such a lost art, especially during the current age of like internet and TikTok and social media, because it's so much easier to just be like, I'm gonna just do some clickbait, ragey stuff, get somebody mad at me, and I'm gonna go crazy, and then that usually goes crazy. I mean, we we lose the human part of it, and I
yeah.
think we need to bring that back.
No, I've always in our DMs, I've always used the metaphor. You got to get yourself wrestling metaphor of getting
Yeah,
yourself over. You get the crowd to like you, and That's honestly, we're a little bit different. I'm not out there trying to be a full-on host. I'm kind of doing this as a hobbyist, right? And so I don't. Please don't see me as competition or anything. If I get a guess that you had, Haas is gonna like knock on the door. Hey, what's your last kicks? Because it's fucking over for you now.
The Gestapo is coming for
Yeah,
you.
forget my first kicks. What are your last kicks? Because it's um, but you know what I mean. I treat this as a hobbyist, but at the same time, I'm like, you got to do better than me if you're gonna be out there creating whatever you are creating, right?
Mhm.
Like I said, get yourself over, find an audience, give the audience some value that they want. That part is tough. I don't have
Yeah.
the answers on exactly how to do it. That's why it's so general of how I'm saying it, right?
Yeah.
And I have the luxury of saying that I'm not doing this all in. You know what I mean? I'm
Mhm.
doing this for a fun side project. Whereas you have said, I'm goal is to be undeniable. You are like all in.
Mhm. The so, like, I mean, I recently tweeted that, like, the idea of should I jump on a wave, or like, this is just the same question I've been asking myself for the last like 4 years. Is it better to jump on a wave and then, figure out the audience after that, or should I create my own audience? And I think what I've been doing now is really sinking into creating my own audience. And so the people are finding me. This is the thing about doing something out of the labor of love is that, you know, as Dallas Penn said, it'll take 10 years for you to be considered overnight success.
Right.
So, one day it clicks, one day it doesn't. Like, you just kind of got to roll with the punches and put your best foot forward, and the audience will come when the audience is ready to be found.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've always encouraged you like do more of those solo shows. Like the solo show you did was really good. That's and like you said, you're free to do whatever the format you want if you
Yeah.
want. And if it is, I was like you're cheating by doing a solo show because you're bouncing off ideas off a producer. And so, as someone who does solo shows at night when I'm like sometimes tired, it is tough to do.
No, yeah.
Obviously, having someone to bounce ideas off and talk to is so much easier. But yeah,
Listen, man, it doesn't really count because Connor has no idea what sneakers are about. I'm literally teaching him about sneakers,
that
and he
guy's
was
wearing
just
Crocs and he's there doing the being the producer.
so, like, yeah, I mean, the o I am planning to do another solo show. Yes, I'm trying to add more solo shows because, yes, you're not the only person that asked for them. ComplexCon was my last, like, outside moment in terms of just, like, going somewhere or whatever, but, yes, there will be I think because of what I'm building, I wanna build this, like, uh, what is I trying to say? Like a structure. I want to build like a
Ecosystem.
fan ecosystem. Yes, I'm trying to build like a little ecosystem around me, with like, additional content, that like additional podcasts that like really get those points across, because yes, people do have said that they do want to hear more about like that style of format, because it was different than, say, your podcast, where I'm talking about it more of like at a like a inspirational slash like observation commentary type of way, instead
Yeah.
of like looking at the facts like you do. And so I think
Uh,
that is kind of refreshing.
Honestly, a lot of what I try to do, especially on Twitter, is to have fun with it.
Yeah.
Like on Twitter, I'm mostly just zinging them out. Like I make a joke and I'm out. Even on the podcast, there's a lot of humor in the podcast.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like a dry joke for it's like a really old like Seinfeld reference that you'd have
Yeah.
to have seen the episode 30 times to pick up or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And that's for me to entertain myself. But no one can ever accuse me that guy doesn't have fun. And
Hmm.
so I like having fun with my hobbies. This is a hobby for me. And that's why I think like other creators I see, I've been joking about creators getting into like, they start like tweeting like they're in Art of War, right?
Yeah.
The enemies are at the gates. I got to start charging tuition and like shit like that, right? I'm like, God, like it's just some guy who like didn't reply or didn't retweet your post, and that's don't need a Art of War quote for that. Um, but like I said, I have the luxury because I think of myself as a hobbyist and just into this for the fun of it, and not
Yeah.
someone who's taking this super serious. So I'm not trying to downplay the part that people do take it serious, because when we do talk about this, in DMs, about the serious stuff, I do treat it serious, and I like hearing you and like hearing feedback. I like giving feedback. I know sometimes it's like I said, it's not always received from the people that you give it to, but it's always tries to come from a place of fairness and
Yeah.
openness.
I think, but I'm also like there's so many people that are on that we come into interact with that this is their only thing. Like
Yeah.
their this is their passion. This is their only thing. That, like they've tried to figure it out how to become a content creator, get paid 24/7 through Meta and all that stuff. While we are both two people with careers and
Well,
we're
I
doing
can
like yeah,
not even career. I can totally see when someone has no joy in their life. It is
yeah,
evident, right? I take my kids to school. My kid holds my hand. It's pure bliss every single day. Holding my
yeah,
kid's hand, walking to
yeah,
school, right? I don't like none of this. The mic stuff doesn't count. And if you don't like, obviously everyone's situation is their own situation. I don't know. Most of these people, online people, I don't know their personal situation,
right, yeah,
but I can guess that I can usually tell when they have no joy, and I'm
mm,
like, you need some sort of balance. You need more. You need to be outside, like as you've been, not the complex con version of outside, the literally
the experience
outside
in your
touching
city.
grass,
Yeah,
outside.
yeah. It's you yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I think that, like, we keep talking about it, like, I don't know, slight rant, but we keep talking about how this is supposed to be a passion, a hobby, it's supposed to be fun, and then we constantly come into interacting with people who are constantly trying to use it against, like, the thing that we find joyous against ourselves,
Yeah, yeah, like
and
some
yeah,
tribalist war and stuff, and I was like,
yeah.
I'm trying to fucking make some jokes and like have some
Yo,
fun here,
exactly.
and I'm
I
gonna
mean
go move on, right?
I mean, the and it's not fair. I will say this straight up. It's not fair when somebody new doesn't understand all this extra stuff that's
Yeah, yeah,
going on around them, but they just want to talk sneakers and they're not able to. So then
yeah,
they instantly feel like they need to be outed, right, and just be
yeah.
in a corner somewhere. But if you are listening to this, Sockdick Live, like make sure that you don't care what anybody else says and just have fun with this because this is fun. Like talking sneakers, me and Sock have so much fun talking sneakers and giving each other feedback on our stuff. Like this is all like every time I sit like I'm like anticipating his DMs and stuff like that because it's just like I love that. I love the ability to have a normal conversation and be like, "Yo, did you get these or no? Did you like these? No." And then be like, "Okay, cool." Like it has nothing to do with like, "Oh, but you don't understand the economic structure of how the why Boston is not, letting these lawmakers happen and now we're not getting 992s anymore." Like, yeah, I don't care
Yeah.
about that.
Or even just like everything has to be centered around what the brands think. I don't
Yeah.
give a fuck what they think,
Okay.
right? Let them think whatever they want. They're not,
Yeah.
unless they like communicate it, then I'll be interested. But what the brand is thinking this, the brand's thinking that. And it's like, go on. Even like, when something gets leaked and it's a brand campaign is leaked or something, um, if a SKU is leaked or a mock-up is leaked, I don't care. That's info for me. Obviously, if a stolen sneaker is stolen and that kind of stuff is leaked, okay, that is bad. And then I'm like, okay, I feel bad for the whatever the collaborator.
Yeah.
That's like the limit. I don't need to like cross the aisle and start being like, oh, this brand collaborator is devastated. I'm sure they'll be all right.
Yeah. The shoe's gonna come out eventually.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
exactly.
I I mean, because like I recently got asked a couple times, like, where do I get my sneaker information? And I'm just kind of like, I purposely avoid it. Like I want to be surprised. But like obviously if something comes across my way, I'm like, all right, cool. I'll have like, I'll be like, all right, this looks cool or whatever. But I just don't I don't get why some people get so upset over something small like that when it's just like the shoe is gonna come out. Just be
Yeah.
patient, you know?
No, it's It's a trend I've been seeing where people are more and more going that way. And like, I'm not saying I'm immune to it. I've done this whole like how to release a sneaker collab series and stuff. But it's not me thinking I'm the collaborator or like I'm Nike and Nike should do this. Like it's like we were talking earlier. There's a lot of you should in
Yeah.
in some of this discourse. I'm more like, you could do this, but whatever, do what you're gonna do. Like you have to be who you are. Like Complex is how they are. You and I have worked at big companies. We understand how big companies work,
Yeah.
right? And how they move and operate.
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't understand that, whereas like we can like see, oh yeah, that's probably legal. Someone they have to talk to a PR person before they can like speak and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you work in a Fortune 500 company, you know that you can not talk to a VP for the 5 years that you're there. So it's just like, yeah, stuff is
Right,
just gonna go missing. Who
right.
cares?
All right, Haas, thank you very much for being on the show. My First Kicks, everyone, please go listen. It's a great listen. Search the archives. There's people that you haven't heard of or have heard of. They're on there. The people have interesting stories. You have a lot, like from even before the studio stuff. You have a lot of like I was on the
Yeah.
pre-studio stuff, and it might be like audio only. So technically, like if you've heard of someone in the sneaker space, they've probably been on your show already.
I mean, that's usually I mean, I started off 2 years just interviewing people that would let me interview them, so I can get really good at interviewing, and so, yeah, shout out to everybody that's ever done an episode. What's your favorite episode? Put you on the spot.
Favorite episode was one of the recent ones. Even just like the last couple of ones I listened to. The Kid Mero one got to be number one. A huge Jesus and Mero fan. I'm so
RIP.
devastated when they were broke up. I sometimes call myself the podcast the art, and it's always like a Jesus and Mero reference.
Yeah.
And behind the scenes, I'm always like, come on, do something, get it all together. And you're like, I don't think it's happening, dog.
Oh, no. That's done, man.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
yeah, the stuff that I've been told has yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
they're on different coasts and stuff too. And
yeah.
it was a good thing. And I had like same like we were saying, we had a lot of joy listening and watching and from early on from Twitter to Complex and how they're on and then the other shows and stuff. But that was the first the one with the other Indian artist, I forget his name. And
Ani Khan?
yeah, yeah. As a fellow brown man, there's very little representation of our people. That one was a favorite of mine as well too.
That one, yeah, that so I've been the next guest, I'll just blow it right here. Next guest that I have on is gonna be Chef Doomy, and so this whole when we were at ComplexCon, he would introduce himself as Adam, and I'm like, "No, reclaim your name, bro."
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, like, and that's mainly
Uh,
due to that episode because just like I'm like, I literally said the same thing that Ani told me. He was like, "My mother calls me Onik. So I've been telling everybody call me Anik." And I'm like, "That's not my name."
yeah,
And I'm like, and I told Doomy, I'm like, "What? How do you say your name?" He's like, Adam. And I'm like, "All right. So
yeah,
then
yeah,
tell people they need to say it that way."
yeah,
And
yeah.
so yeah, just gotta be the whole thing about assimilating, like it really like understanding that, man, like it's dope. Like
Like
just
my name is Pinder, and it's anglicized enough. It's easy enough to say. Even some people have it as a last name, but I had never had wanted or desired to become Peter or something like that. I've always
yeah,
like, this is my name. You're
yeah.
gonna say it. That's it's one of those. It's like one of those chapters in that How to Win Friends and Influence People book that every college student has, right?
Yeah. Hey
Yeah.
man, I think there's power in that and knowing oneself is has been the theme this year, cuz like I feel like finding yourself leads to having confidence and I think that once you have confidence nobody can stop you and you'll be undeniable.
Right. It's a good spot to end it all. And thank you very much, Haas, for the show. Are you going to say the outro with me? Will
Yeah,
you say the outro with me?
sure, hell yeah.
Thank you for being on the show, and everyone, please
Go
go
fuck
fuck
yourself.
yourself.